It began on the night of the first frost, the kind of night when silence pressed heavy against the windows and even the trees seemed to hold their breath. Clara lived alone in the little cottage at the edge of the woods, the kind of place people said was too far from town to be safe. But she loved the solitude, or at least she did, until the fox came. The sound was soft at first. Knock, knock. Not the frantic scrabbling of paws, not the scratch of claws. This was deliberate, knuckles against wood. Clara sat up in bed, her breath fogging in the cold air. Midnight. The clock in the kitchen struck 12 just as the knocking came again. Knock, knock. She hesitated, pulling her robe tight, and crept to the door. Through the peephole she saw nothing but fog curling along the porch. No human figure, no visitor, just the long stretch of forest, pale and ghostly under the moon. And yet there it was, a fox. Its eyes glowed with a strange amber light, fixed on her door as though it expected her to answer. She laughed nervously, shaking her head. "Just a fox," she whispered. But then it tilted its head, and its paw, no, not its paw, its hand, rose and rapped gently against the wood again. Knock, knock. Clara stumbled back. She hadn't been mistaken. That sound was human, a hand's knock, coming from the animal at her door. For the rest of the night, she did not sleep. She lay in bed, the knocking continuing every few minutes. By dawn it had stopped. The porch was empty, no sign of the fox. Clara told herself she had been dreaming. She wanted to believe that. But the next night, at exactly midnight, the knocking returned. Louder this time, insistent. When she finally dared to peek through the curtains, the fox was sitting upright, staring directly at her window. Its fur looked darker, almost matted, with something she couldn't name, and when it tilted its head, she swore she heard words carried on the cold air. "Let me in." Her blood froze. She pressed her hand to her mouth to keep from screaming. That was the first time the fox spoke, and it would not be the last. Clara didn't leave the cottage the next morning. She sat by the window, staring at the edge of the forest, half expecting to see the fox watching her. But the woods remained still, empty, drenched in pale light. It almost convinced her that she'd imagined the whole thing. Almost. By evening, unease settled in her chest again. She double-locked the door and drew every curtain tight. The clock ticked louder than usual, each second dragging her toward midnight. When it came, the knocking was immediate. Not gentle this time. Knock, knock, knock. 3 hard raps that rattled the door on its hinges. Clara froze in the center of the room, too terrified to move. "Let me in." The words were clearer now, low, guttural, carried on a voice that was neither human nor animal. Clara clamped her hands over her ears, whispering, "It's not real. It's not real." But the knocking only grew louder. Knock, knock, knock. Finally, with trembling steps, she crept to the window. The fox was there, just as before, its amber eyes glowing in the dark. But tonight, something was different. Its fur seemed stretched, too thin, as if something inside it pushed against the skin. Its mouth moved slowly, deliberately, shaping words it should never have known. "Let me in." Clara stumbled backward, knocking over a chair. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She thought of calling someone, anyone, but who would believe her? That a fox was knocking at her door, speaking? The knocks stopped suddenly, replaced by silence, so heavy it pressed against her eardrums. She waited, holding her breath, straining to hear the crunch of retreating paws. Instead, a new sound came, scratching. The fox was clawing at the door now, dragging long, deliberate strokes across the wood. It was not frantic. It was patient, like something marking its claim. Clara pressed her back to the wall, sliding down to the floor, covering her mouth to smother the sob that threatened to escape. The scratching went on for hours. When the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, Clara found the courage to open the door. Her porch was shredded. Deep grooves ran across the wood, claw marks etched too deep for any normal animal. At the center of the door, smeared in what looked horribly like blood, was a single word. Soon, Clara slammed the door shut, her chest heaving. Whatever the fox was, it wasn't leaving. Not until it got what it wanted. Clara did not open the curtains that day. She couldn't bear to look outside, couldn't risk seeing those glowing eyes fixed on her. But the weight of the forest pressed in from all sides, and she felt it. That thing waiting. Her hands shook as she brewed coffee, the bitter smell filling the kitchen. She told herself she'd leave. She'd pack her bags, call a cab from town, anything. But when she reached for her phone, the screen was cracked and black. Dead. She tried the landline. No dial tone. The fox had cut her off. Somehow it knew. By nightfall, the silence became unbearable. Every creak of the house felt like a warning. Clara sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the door as the clock inched toward midnight. Knock, knock, knock. She flinched, right on time. But this time, the knocks didn't stop. They came again and again, harder, faster, shaking the frame. Clara stumbled to her feet, clutching a kitchen knife with hands that barely obeyed her. Let me in. The voice was louder now, twisted, layered, as if more than one mouth was speaking. Clara backed away, the knife trembling in her grip. Then came the sound of glass shattering. She spun toward the back of the house. The window above the sink lay in shards, moonlight spilling in. And there, perched on the counter, was the fox. It was smaller than she'd imagined up close, its body thin, its fur matted with mud and something darker. But its eyes burned like coals, too human, too knowing. It cocked its head, as if amused by her terror. "You invited me," it said softly, though its mouth barely moved. "No," Clara whispered, shaking her head. "I never." "Yes, you opened the door in your thoughts. That is enough." The fox leapt lightly to the floor, its claws clicking against the wood. Clara stumbled back until her spine pressed against the wall. "Stay away from me," she cried, slashing the knife in the air. The fox only smiled, or at least, its lips curled in something like it. "This house is mine now. And you." It paused, its voice dropping to a hiss. "You belong to me." Clara's vision blurred with panic. She lunged forward, swinging the knife. For a moment, it connected. She felt it slice through fur and flesh. The fox shrieked, a sound that split the air like tearing metal. But when she blinked, it was gone. Only the echo of that shriek remained, lingering in the walls like a curse. And Clara knew, whatever she'd just let inside, it hadn't left. Not really. The cottage felt poisoned. Every room carried the echo of that shriek, vibrating through the walls like a trapped voice. Clara hadn't slept. She hadn't dared. Each time her eyes closed, she felt it moving inside the house, never in sight, but always near. By morning, the air was wrong. The smell of wet fur clung to every corner, and the floor bore faint paw prints that trailed in circles, overlapping themselves, as if the creature had paced all night. Clara scrubbed until her hands blistered, but the prints never faded. She tried to leave. She packed a bag, shoved her feet into boots, and yanked the front door open. Sunlight poured over her face, almost blinding. Relief hit her chest. She stepped outside and stopped. Every path from her cottage was gone. Where there should have been the dirt road to town, there was only forest. Endless, thick, suffocating forest stretching in all directions. She spun, her heart hammering, but the road had vanished, swallowed whole. "You can't leave." The voice floated from behind her. Clara whipped around. The fox sat on her porch, its fur slick with dew or blood. She couldn't tell. Its eyes gleamed, and it smiled with teeth far too sharp for any animal. "This is your home now," it whispered. "Forever." Clara stumbled back into the house, slamming the door, but the fox didn't follow. Not yet. It didn't need to. The forest itself was its prison, its trap, and she was caught inside. That night, the knocking returned, but this time it came from inside the walls. Knock, knock, knock. Clara pressed her palms to her ears, trembling, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The sound crawled from one wall to the next, circling her. "You let me in," the voices hissed, many now, not one. A chorus, rising and falling, scratching against the inside of her skull. "Now you belong to us." Her knife lay on the counter, the blade stained with what she thought was the fox's blood. But when she grabbed it, the stain pulsed faintly, glowing red, like a heartbeat. She dropped it with a cry. The cottage groaned. The lights flickered from the shadows near the fireplace. Two amber eyes blinked open, watching. Clara realized with a crushing weight of dread that the fox had never left. It didn't need the door. It didn't even need a body. It was everywhere. By the fifth night, Clara no longer recognized her own reflection. Her eyes were ringed with shadow, her skin pale, her hands trembling as though something else were moving inside her veins. She couldn't tell where the fox ended and where she began. The knocking never stopped now. It pulsed from the walls, the ceiling, the floor, everywhere, all at once. Sometimes it came soft as a heartbeat. Sometimes it thundered until the house shook. Each knock carried words that pressed into her mind, over and over. "Let me in, let me in, let me in." But hadn't she already? The mirror in the hallway flickered. Clara froze. Her reflection was wrong. Its lips curved into a smile she didn't wear. Slowly, its mouth opened, and the words poured out, though Clara's own lips were still. "Midnight belongs to me." The lights went out. The cottage plunged into darkness, except for two burning amber eyes that glowed from the corner of the room. The fox stepped forward, its body twisting, stretching, unfurling like smoke given shape. Its muzzle lengthened, then shrank. Its fur writhed like worms beneath its skin. It was becoming something else. Something older, hungrier. Clara pressed against the wall, choking on her own breath. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. The creature smiled with 100 teeth. "You invited me when you listened, when you believed. All I want." Its voice split into many, overlapping, like an echo inside her skull, "is to stay." The floor beneath her feet cracked. Black roots coiled upward, wrapping her ankles, pulling her toward the thing. She screamed, thrashing. But the more she fought, the tighter they bound her. "Let me in," the voices hissed again. And in that moment, Clara understood. The fox had never wanted her house. It wanted her. She tried to resist, clawing at the roots, but her strength bled out with every heartbeat. The creature leaned close, its breath hot and rancid on her face. "Now," it whispered, pressing its snout to her lips, "we are one." Darkness swallowed her. When the sun rose the next morning, the cottage stood silent, its door wide open. On the porch, a fox sat patiently, its fur clean, its amber eyes calm. To anyone passing, it looked harmless, innocent. But if they had looked closer, if they had met its gaze, they would have seen her. Clara, peering out from behind those eyes, trapped forever inside. And the fox never left again.